Hey friends, the Troy-bilt Pony 42 riding lawnmower is one of the most common mowers on the market. But is it any good? I've had mine for over 2 years now, and I'm going to give you my opinion based on my personal experience mowing the grass around my country home out here in Cohutta. Is this mower any good? Let's dig in. I bought my Troy-bilt Pony 42 in 2021. My previous mower, a John Deere, was a great mower that lasted 11 years before the transaxle went out on it. I had liked it so much that I planned to buy another John Deere. But the John Deere broke down at a time when there weren't many good mowers available. And so unfortunately, when I started shopping late in the mowing season, there weren't any mowers to be found, hardly at all. I even contacted my John Deere dealer and they told me that they were out and they wouldn't have any more until the next year. So I settled for the one mower that I could find that was in the price range that I had, and it was the Troy-bilt Pony 42. I found it at a Home Depot, and it was the only mower left on the lot. Well, first, let me tell you a few things I like about this mower, and then I'll tell you what I don't like. On the plus side, the Pony was a relatively inexpensive lawnmower. I paid a little over $1,200 in 2021. That price may have gone up since then, but that's what I paid 2 years ago. The price and the fact that it was the only mower on the lot that was in my range is what convinced me to go ahead and take a chance on the Troy-bilt Pony 42. Another plus for this Troy-bilt mower over the older John Deere, which was a 2010 model, is a much better turning radius that makes it easier to cut in those tight places like around all of my raised beds in my garden. It's much easier on the Troy-bilt than it was on the John Deere. This mower seems easy to handle and it maneuvers well, and I like the intuitive gear shifter to select from forward, neutral, and reverse. The quality of the cut is decent. It works fine for my yard. I'm not a stickler for a super neat lawn. I live out in the country and I just want green stuff to grow in my yard and to keep growing, and I want to be able to keep it relatively neat, and so I need a mower that's reliable and will work week after week. And the Troy-bilt does a well enough job for me. And it can even handle it if the grass gets really tall. I used it to mow down cover crops in my garden 2 years in a row. Thick vegetation that was as tall as 3 feet. Over where this corn was planted, I had some wheat that was there. Now, if you live in a subdivision where everyone's competing to have the nicest looking lawn, or if there's rules about it, the Pony can be a little sloppy. And I've noticed that it tends to cut unevenly, especially if the mower is ever tilted, like around my driveway, where sometimes I will have 2 tires up on the driveway and then 2 tires down on the grass, and it will sometimes leave lines there where it's been cut unevenly. But for general purposes, the Pony cuts clean enough. It cuts fast too. I have an acre of grass here to cut. I measured it with Google, and I can get that done with the Troy-bilt Pony's 42-inch deck in about an hour and a half. I could actually do it a lot faster, but as you can see, I have a lot of raised bed spaces and the garden that I got to go around, and I got to make a lot of turns. I got to back up, and that slows me down quite a bit. But the 7-speed transmission has a faster top speed than my old John Deere did, and the 15.5 horsepower engine is powerful enough to get most jobs done. I've even used it to pull a small trailer that was loaded down full of firewood, and it did just fine. Couldn't even tell that it was having any struggles at all. So the things I liked best were the price, the turning radius, the speed. Now let me tell you what I don't like about this mower. First of all, it just seems cheaply made. I noticed the difference from an old John Deere right off the bat, immediately. When you sit down in it and you grab a hold of the steering wheel, it sort of flexes. It just sort of feels like weak plastic in my hands. And as I'm driving around and I'm bouncing over rough terrain, I can feel the steering wheel sort of flexing, and I honestly wonder if at some point it's going to break. It hasn't yet, but it just feels like it's giving, it's flexing, it's not sturdy. And also that effect sort of makes you feel like the mower is cheap, and it also feels less stable because as you're sitting there, what you're holding to is flexing, and it just feels like you're not as stable. And that brings me to my second critique. Many of the parts on this mower are fragile. Parts bend and they break much easier than they should. A slight bump of the mower deck against a curve that wouldn't have even phased my John Deere. It bent the mower deck on this Troy-bilt so that the blades were actually touching the mower deck. And I had to get off and I had to stop everything and I had to bend the deck back out into place. This mower, it just isn't tough. You have to be careful with it. And even if you are careful, things will wear out faster than they should. Both of the deck belt covers literally broke off of this mower within 2 years and had to be replaced. They weren't even damaged. I mean, it's not like I had an accident or I bumped them with something or I ran into something. They just simply wore out because of the vibration of the mower. And I guess it just flexed the metal, and eventually it caused them to break where they were mounted to the deck, and they broke off. Also, the throttle deck cable is currently worn out and it needs to be replaced. I have to leave the throttle in one position or else open the hood and manually adjust the throttle on the engine. I can't help but wonder what other parts are going to wear out next. And they're going to need to be replaced, and that's going to mean I'm going to have to stop. And you know, it always seems to happen at the most inconvenient time, right in the middle of cutting the grass. But on the bright side, the parts are relatively cheap and they're relatively easy to replace. But I wouldn't expect a 2-year-old mower to have parts like this wearing out already. It seems like it should last longer. The third thing that I don't like about this mower is something that is probably just a fact of life as a standard headache on most modern riding lawnmowers. It's all the safety switches that they put on these things. The most annoying one is the reverse mowing safety switch, and this discourages you from mowing while you are driving in reverse. To mow in reverse, you have to put the mower into the reverse mow position, and then you have to push a little orange triangle by the key switch. But you can't just do this once and then forget about it. The safety feature resets every several minutes, and then you have to go through the whole process again. And it's just annoying. I wish that you could just set it and then forget it. But I'm sure the lawyers at Troy-bilt, forced by an over-litigated society, made sure that the engineers who built this mower incorporated all of these safety features in the way they did. And it's just annoying, but it's probably the same on most mowers. A second safety feature that's quite annoying is the seat cutoff switch. This is meant to automatically shut off the engine if the driver should fall off. And yeah, that's useful because you don't want the mower to keep mowing and keep driving if the driver is not seated firmly in the driver's seat. But unfortunately, it also means that this mower engine will stall every time I hit a moderate bump. The seat is quite springy and it's bouncy, and as you're bouncing around driving on the lawn, every little bump causes you to kind of come up off the seat just a little bit. It doesn't take much, but it's enough to make the engine shut off. As soon as you come back down on the seat, the engine will re-engage, but it just is annoying and it doesn't seem like it's good for the engine, and it just really doesn't seem necessary. And it also means you can't get off the mower while the mower blades are spinning. Even if the parking brake is engaged, you can't get off the mower. You have to stay on it. If you get off, you have to turn off the mower blades every time you get off, or else the engine's going to shut off. Now, thankfully, these safety switches can be bypassed if you know how. I'll leave a link in the description of this video if you're curious on how to disable them. I will give you this disclaimer though. I'm not telling you to bypass any safety switches on your lawnmower. I'm just showing you how it can be done. You take full responsibility for any injuries you sustain if you should disable the safety features on your lawnmower. My last critique has to do with changing the oil on this mower. You need to change the oil on any mower at least once a year, and the Briggs & Stratton engine on this mower is easy to service. It doesn't even have an oil filter. You don't have to replace the oil filter. The engine is supposed to have a self-cleaning technology to make an oil filter unnecessary. The engine cleans the oil as it goes. So it's easy to change the oil on the mower, but there's one annoying aspect to it. The drain plug is inconveniently located on top of the frame, and it's blocked by the steering linkage. Now, although it's easy enough to actually reach the drain plug and to get it off, it's not a problem. It's not that. But there's no way to completely avoid spilling the oil and making a mess as it drains, because it drains right on top of the frame. It can't drain directly into a drain pan. And even using the funnel that comes with the mower that's supposed to help you get the oil funneled away from the drain spout into your can, there's just no way to stop the oil from getting all over everything. And so you do the best you can, but it's just an annoying little quirk of this engine, and it's just something that you have to deal with. And you ask yourselves, why did they build it that way? It didn't have to. I'm sure they had a reason, but I think they could have done better. In summary, the Troy-bilt Pony 42 is a decent mower. You get what you pay for. A cheap mower that can do the job pretty well as long as you're not too hard on it. It's easy to drive and it gets the job done fast. And it could be useful in a lot of situations, but you should be prepared to do regular maintenance as well as frequent repairs. The mower is easy to work on and the parts aren't that expensive, and you'll probably need to work on it often, if my experience after 2 years is any indication. It will work well enough if you're mowing an acre or two of grass every week, but I wouldn't use it if you've got a lawn care business or a landscaping business. I wouldn't use this because the mower, you're going to be mowing numerous lawns, and the mower is going to be wearing out fast, and you're going to have to stop frequently to make repairs, and that's going to hamper your productivity. And it's just going to be annoying. It's going to be hard to get the job done. Now, if that's what you do for a living, pick a better mower. But for just the general everyday person that has a large yard that they need to mow, 1 to 2 acres, this will be just fine. Isaiah chapter 40 verses 6 through 8 says, "A voice said, 'Shout.' And I asked, 'What should I shout?' 'Shout that people are like the grass. Their beauty fades as quickly as flowers in the field. The grass withers and the flowers fade beneath the breath of God.' And so it is with people. The grass withers and the flowers fade, but the word of our God stands forever." We're here today and we're gone tomorrow. It seems like life goes by so quickly. I can remember very vividly being a little kid, and my mom and dad made me cut the grass at our house. That was one of the chores that I was responsible for, and I hated doing it. And you know, you blink a couple of times and the next thing you know, you're like me. You're 49 years old and you have your own house and you have your own lawn to cut, and maybe it's something that you actually enjoy doing like I do. Time goes by so fast. And the things that we think about and the ideas that we have, they come and they go, they change so fast. But the Word of God stands forever. So therefore, let us base our lives and our futures and future generations' lives on the Word of God, because it's always the same and it never changes. Anyway, that's my thoughts for today. Thanks for watching today. Now, let's get out there and let's grow and be fruitful.